Well, tonight on Throwback Thursday, Eugene Fernandez introduces us to the Del Mar Beach.
I have time traveled back to 1930, and I'm dressed appropriately for it, for the 1920s and the 1930s. The only difference is, behind me here is the remnants of the structure of the dance hall and the bathhouse of Del Mar Beach. Now, in order to discuss Del Mar Beach, which was on Boca Chica Beach, away from Brownsville by about 22 miles, you would have to go into studying Colonel Sam Robertson. A lot of the people in this area of South Texas know well about Sam Robertson, and his first step into South Texas was about 1903 with the building of the railroad. He was an engineer at that point, so he was hired. Actually, he won the contract in order to lay the railroad ties from Robstown to Brownsville. 1904, he saw a parcel of land around what's today known as San Benito. He retired from the military in 1919, came on back down to South Texas, and that's where he got into a partnership with certain interests that had land holdings up in North Padre Island. But he was drawn more towards the southern part of Brazos Island here. He obtained Brazos Island intact as a payment on a debt in 1930. And that's what began the Del Mar Beach Resort project. On this site, if you can visualize, you can only see the pilings that are left now, but there was a pilings going up, and there was a big bathhouse and a casino and a dance hall on this spot. Now, mind you, look how close the water is. This is after a storm. When this was going full blast, there was easily 200 feet of shore between the bathhouse and the water. Unfortunately, it burned down, and you can see the charred remains on these pilings here in about 63, 64. Now, that wasn't all that was built in this area. Behind it and behind where the dunes are were cabañas. These cabañas, bungalows, were rented out on a day basis to tourists that would come in and settle for a weekend or even a month or so. An interesting part about how the island was at that time is that it wasn't an intact piece of land between where Highway 4 juts in and the Brazos Santiago Pass. There was a cut between that, and that was called the Boca Chica, the cut. It was a tidal wash that actually cut this Brazos Island in half. Now, Colonel Sam made a causeway over that cut and allowed people to come to this part of the land. But he charged a toll going over that causeway of 2 bits, which was 25 cents at the time. We're talking about 1930. He was very proud of this project. So you're going between the period of 1930 until 1933. Oh, what happened then? A huge storm came out of Tampico and wreaked havoc upon his prized community here. But that didn't stop him. The next year, in April 1934, he was open and back for business. He had 26 bungalows, he had the casino going full blast, and this was a center of activity for Brownsville and the Lower Valley to come out on those hot summer days. I remember my father speaking of that particular period because he was about 15, 16 years old at the time, and he actually worked for Colonel Sam Robertson. He would say that in the hot summer nights of 1939 and 40 before the war, they would sit underneath this particular structure and look out over the moonlit water, and they would hear the sounds and the Nickelodeon at the time of Tommy Dorsey, Artie Shaw, and all those pre-war beautiful bits of music that played. Colonel Sam passed on in August of 1938, but his legacy lived for a while in his wife. She maintained it with some portions of her family up until 1941. U.S. government actually caused her to close down and lease this land for coastal observation to see if there were any submarines coming in from the Germans at the time. Such a legacy was on this spot. There's nothing but silence now, but back in those days, you would have heard the ragtime bands and everything blaring from the Nickelodeon and the old dance hall. The legacy was what Colonel Sam gave to this part of the country, and the rest is history. For KVEO News, I'm Eugene Fernandez.